Are you brave enough to be yourself when everyone else is being everyone else? Gurus, shiny logos, designer prices. Are you brave enough to demand alternative? Yesterday's technology, slow speeds and inferior displays. Are you brave enough to expect more? Are you brave enough to make a change for the better? Honour, clearer, further, faster, for the brave.
Cool, so thank you very much everyone. So first one up, no pressure. So I'm Wilkin Lee and I'm the Sales and Marketing Manager for Honour in the UK. So what I want to try and do today is actually explain to you why Honour is here. And as I'm sure most of you know anyway, Huawei are kind of in the UK as we sponsor Arsenal, but why have they gone about bringing another brand into the market? So first I want to explain kind of the differentiation between Huawei and Honour, and that's the right way of pronouncing Huawei actually, so it is Huawei. With Huawei, the business is actually made up of 3 groups. It's kind of like the factions in Divergent. So now you're shaking actually saying. First we have the carrier group where we actually build the network infrastructures for the operators, and we actually currently hold the number 2 spot around the world. So in fact, actually in the UK, you might know this already, but actually most of the 4G masts is actually produced and provided by Huawei. We have enterprise, so they comprise of basically our B2B solutions, which are mainly looking at clouds and things like smart city. And then finally, where we fit in is the consumer group. So this would span across handsets, home devices, and mobile broadband. The thing to really highlight is the fact that in Huawei, we've got 150,000 people working for us, and actually 70% of the guys working for us are actually within R&D. So this is where you'll probably know Huawei the best. So in terms of Huawei, what they've done in the past is actually they've brought out the slimmest phone with the P1, the fastest in the P2, and then last year we've actually merged the 2, so we had the thinnest 4G device in the P7. And this is something that we're very, very proud of in Huawei, is the fact that actually we're one of the first major Chinese brands to make it into the Interbrand at 194, so we're up against the likes of Land Rover and Hugo Boss. So some of you might be thinking, why launch a new brand following the success of Huawei already? So the mindset that we've adopted in Huawei is that they are the core brand. So essentially what they do is that they're catering to the masses, which is why you'll find a Huawei device in kind of traditional retail stores, so Carphone Warehouse, in the operators, and various bits like that, and obviously that costs a lot of money. Also with Huawei, they sponsor the likes of Arsenal, so in sports, which unfortunately they're actually not united out in the FA Cup, so I was a bit annoyed about that. So the way we think of Huawei is basically they are kind of like the BMW of the brand, whereas Honour is focused on the niche, so kind of like many who are owned by BMW, but then they're selling the same segment, but what they're doing is actually they're selling to those looking for more than just another hatchback. And for Honour, the focus is online. So like I said, so the niche for Honour is the group that we identified as living in the digital world. So these are the guys that spend a third of their time actually browsing the web, on social networks, and they're shopping online just like you and me. So we call them the digital natives. So these are the guys who are adventurous, they're optimistic, and more importantly, they're the ones who actually dare to be a bit different. And Honour is actually born to actually cater for these digital natives. So what does that actually mean for you? So firstly, our journey actually begins with the Honour 6 on the 28th of October of last year. So I'm not sure how familiar you guys are already with the device, but I just wanted to talk about it briefly because this is kind of the fundamentals of what Honour is based on. So essentially what we base Honour on is speed, power and style, and with the Honour 6 that was all done for £250. And this is all because we don't invest in retail. So in terms of speed, the Honour 6 was the first in the world to have an octa-core Cat6 LTE system-on-chip chipset. It was paired with a Motd T628 graphics processor, and at Cat6 is actually capable of downloading up to 300 megabytes per second. So I mean, even last year, this is where it actually outperformed a lot of the last year's flagships. We also matched it to 3 gigabytes of dual channel RAM, and there was 16 gigabytes of onboard memory. We added a bigger battery compared to most of our competitors last year. So we had a 3,100 milliamp battery, but with that, actually, we made sure that it will actually charge a lot quicker as well. We've got our intelligent GTS architecture, which again was one of the first. So actually what that meant is that you've got single core switching with our optical chip. So essentially when you're doing something very power intensive like recording a video, we can use like 7 or up to all 8 of the cores. But when you're listening to music or texting, then it's actually only one of the smaller cores that you're using, again saving power. We've also built in the ultra power saving mode. So based on our power consumption test, it means that you can last another 24 hours with just 10% charge. And I mean, I like to think that the Honor 6 is actually beautiful all round. So I mean, from the back, it's actually made up of 6 layers. And if you look closely on one of our devices there, you can actually see there's a 3D pattern that's actually embedded in the device. And that's because it's not just printed on the actual plastic itself, but it's actually built up of the 6 layers. It's got a very strong, vivid front. So it's got our 5-inch display, 445 ppi, and an ultra-thin bezel, which was actually less than 3 millimeters thick. So again, when you compare that to a lot of the competitive flagships last year, you had a much better screen-to-body ratio on there. We have a 13 megapixel camera on the back and a 5 on the front with an extra wide-angle lens. And we've got cool features like an ultra snapshot. So what you can do is essentially, so from a lock screen, double-click the volume down key, and then it'll go straight into taking a picture in kind of an average speed of about 0.6. So let's take another one there. So it just means that you don't actually miss out on any opportunities there on pictures. Someone slipping over, jumping in the pool, it means you're straight away ready when you take it out of the pocket. And finally, we've actually, on the Honor 6, we added our award-winning magazine lock screen. So with this, actually it's a periodically updated lock screen, so every time you go in there, a new picture will actually go on. And then we've actually hosted 100-day parties like this.
With one of these winners.
Congratulations to the Honor brand's March of the 100-day celebration program event. Be young, be brave, and be yourself.
Congratulations on making it to 100 days.
Congratulations, Honor.
Well done, Honor.
Congratulations to Honor. Well done.
Congratulations, Honor. Well done.
So I actually really like our Dutch team from there. So they're based in Amsterdam. So I think when they were doing this, they'll probably be smoking a bit too much. So no, they're good. And there's actually at the 100-day party where we actually launched the Honor Holly. So I mean, at £90, it packs a lot of bang for your buck, and it was actually designed in our very own design centre in London. So I mean, as a device, what it has is an 8 megapixel f2.0 rear camera and a 2 megapixel front camera. It's a 1.3 quad-core device with a 5-inch 720p display. It's a dual SIM 3G, and it was actually launched with KitKat as well. And we've also packed in a 2,000 milliamp battery. But one of the coolest thing about the Holly was that when we launched it, we had something called the price hacker promotion. And basically, the more registrations we got for the device, the cheaper it actually got. So from a starting point of £110, we actually launched it in the first week at £75 because we've got over 50,000 registrations on this device. And only a few weeks ago, we actually announced 2 new devices. I think these are the ones that you guys will be more interested in at NWC. So you probably read them more about them now, but obviously we've got the 4X. The 4X is basically where we're saying it's where power meets beauty. Funky animation there. So power. So in terms of power, we've got a 64-bit A53 octa-core chip. It's 4G and it's clocked at 1.2 gigahertz. So I mean, in terms of performance, we mapped that against kind of a lot of the other competitors there. And it's, again, I'm sure you guys will test it out anyway. But in terms of reliability and actually signal strength, it's a lot stronger than the other 4G devices. And also in terms of power consumption, it actually works a lot better. And it's actually saves more power than a regular 32-bit processor. However, obviously, because we're catering to the digital natives, we believe the best access to high speeds is the one that actually lasts the longest. So therefore, we've actually packed in a 3,000 milliamp battery. And beauty. So on the 4X, this is where we've actually taken inspiration from the fashion industry, and we actually introduced a finish that you would find kind of in hand-woven cotton. So when you actually pick up the device that's over there, you can actually feel it. It feels a bit warmer to touch, and it feels a bit soft than just a regular kind of polycarbonate body. On the 4X, so we've used the same camera setup as the Honor 6. So we've got a 13 megapixel shooter on the back and a 5 megapixel camera on the front. It's the first time we actually introduced a 5.5-inch display to the portfolio. And that's purely for basically the ultimate visual kind of experience for our digital natives. And that's what we really find that's important. But what we've also done is actually coupled that with a speaker that has an integrated speaker box. So what I'll do is actually it will increase and enhance low frequency bass notes. And that's really evident when you're listening to music, but also when you're using the phone itself as a loudspeaker. So I mean, the Honor 4X is available in black, white and gold for $149, but actually at the moment Amazon do have it for $144.99 already. And then last but certainly not least is the Honor 6 Plus. So with the 6 Plus, we've improved the way smartphone images are captured by bringing disruptive innovation beyond imagination, which is a bit of a mouthful. But we've actually integrated the Honor 6 Plus with our Kirin 925 chipset. And we have our 3IE algorithm engine and the software for image processing. So I mean, finally, this is, so essentially what this will do is that from the 2 camera that's actually set up in a dual parallel mode, there's actually 2 8 megapixel cameras on the back. And it gives you the final output of 13 megapixels, but actually you get a comparative megapixel size of 1.98 micrometers. So with the dual camera setup, it also gives you a f/0.95 wide aperture that actually challenges most of the expensive DSLR camera lenses already. But also actually extend the range also to f/16, which means you can then play around with depth of field, kind of like a light field camera. So what that means is actually you can have pictures like this, where you can actually go back, focus, and even after you've taken the image. Or where high dynamic range is needed, the 6 Plus can actually capture images quicker with less risk of double exposure. And that's because every time it's taking a picture, it's actually taking 2 pictures each time and then merging them rather than having one picture taken after the other. So essentially you can do it in twice the speed of most smartphones. Because of the dual setup, and it takes in double the amount of light, we're actually billing it as the king of low light. So I mean, again, because it's coupled with our 3IE algorithm engine, it makes night photos clearer, brighter, and fuller of detail. And it also actually captures the beautiful colours that you will actually see with your eyes, but with even greater detail. I've got quite a few good examples on my phone that I've been taking snaps of. And in terms of imagery, so what we've actually done is we've actually put an 8 megapixel camera on the front as well, and there's a 22mm wide lens. So I mean, essentially what you can do is actually I'll show you guys now actually, so I want to try and take a panoramic selfie, so this is one of the most we have. So, I haven't said it yet, it's always a bad sign. So it's quite quick, so essentially what I'll do there, and then I'll move it over here, and it should actually get the whole room in. There we go. So I'll tweak that in a sec actually once I get off here, but that's a really cool feature, I've been using it quite a lot. And on the chipset level, we've actually put in our incomparable Kirin 925 chipset. It's clocked at a maximum of 1.8 gigahertz, and again it allows single core switching, so it means you can actually save a lot more power again. But this time we've actually added a i3 sensor hub to that, which purely manages the proximity sensor, gyroscope, accelerometer, and compass. So again, it just frees up the Kirin 925 for more processing power. We've also added 3 GB of 800 MHz RAM, 32 GB, and there's actually space on there to put in a 128 SD card. So after increasing the screen size, again, this is actually a 5.5-inch Full HD display. We've actually put in a larger 3,600 mAh battery. That should actually last about 2 days with moderate usage. And like the Honor 6, the back itself is actually built up of 6 layers. And the coolest thing about the Honor 6 Plus is actually the base layer is fiberglass. And there's actually a video on YouTube, if you want to Google it now or something, where we've actually demoed it getting shot with an air rifle. The shot doesn't penetrate and the screen still works afterwards. I mean, it makes a dent on the back, but then it's the fact that it's actually held the shot quite well. And then we've actually wrapped the Honor 6 Plus in a zinc alloy frame. So this is actually a lot more firm and rigid compared to a normal aluminium frame design. But we've also actually added in a dual active SIM. So it's actually 2 active 4G SIMs there. And when you're not using both SIMs, you can actually use the nano SIM slot to actually put in the memory card. So for the 6 Pluses, again, it's available online, will be anyway on Amazon. But actually, it's the first time we've announced the device in partnership with 3. So it's actually quite exciting because with 3, they're actually one of the most reliable networks, which we think is most important for our digital natives. But I mean, the most exciting thing about the partnership is the fact that 3 are working with us to actually create a special tariff just for Honor. So it's kind of in line with our e-commerce strategy. So I mean, just watch this space because you're going to see some really amazing tariffs coming out really soon for us. There's 2 final things actually I want to announce at March of the Droids. Firstly, it's our VIP service, actually the Honor VIP service that is, which will be available at the end of April. And this is where actually we'll look to replace your device on the same day if there's any faults within warranty. So again, we can only do this because actually we're owned by Huawei and because we're confident that you won't actually need it. But it's there in the unlikely event that you would. But I mean, over there is actually our special guest Frank, is actually the head of service and after sales care for Huawei and Honor. So I mean, if you've got any detailed questions or suggestions, please give them a shout. So that is it for me actually. So I open myself to questions. Sure.
What will the 6 Plus be retailing?
We will be announcing that in the next couple of weeks, but that's going to be in line with the special tariff that we'll be selling it with 3. Yep.
The Honor VIP, you've obviously announced it here today, but is it going to be, does it cost a premium? If so, how much is it? And is it available to anyone to buy that premium service?
Oh, very good question. So actually what I should have said is the VIP service is free of charge. But it is from the Honor 6, only for the Honor 6 and Honor 6 Plus. And we've got more details about it going on, but there isn't actually any extra cost involved. So as long as you buy an Honor 6 and Honor 6 Plus in the UK, then you have access to the service.
And that's between any, whether you buy it through 3 or you buy it through Amazon?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, but there's some terms involved because obviously in Amazon you can buy devices from China. Whereas that wouldn't be included in the UK warranty. So as long as it's a UK Honor 6 or 6 Plus device, completely free, and it's included. Sure.
The a lot of the times you see, say, the dual SIM, especially if it's a dual SIM that has two 4G SIM cards and one SIM card slot being a micro SD slot. When they come to the UK, we see manufacturers disable the second SIM slot. Is the 6 Plus going to be essentially like the Chinese variant where you have the dual SIM even in the UK variant?
Yep, no, that's completely right. So for the P7, that was the case. For the 6 Plus, both SIMs are active, even when you buy it on 3. So it's the very first dual SIM device that's going to be sold on a UK network, I believe. Yep,
Is it coming with Lollipop?
no, so actually that's a very good question. So they don't come with Lollipop, but within 60 days we're working to actually update them. So the 4X and the 6 Plus will be shipped out initially on KitKat, but we're hoping by kind of around June, July that we'll get Lollipop on there. And actually that includes the Honor 6 as well. And I'm not sure if any of you guys have the 3C, but we'll be updating that to KitKat.
Anybody else have any more questions for Wilkin?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any plans to support them beyond Lollipop, or are you planning to just end it after one upgrade cycle?
Yeah, no, so we're working on it. So, I mean, one of the most important things for Honor is the upgrade path. I can't confirm if we definitely will or not, but it's definitely something that we're actually taking input on. And actually, the other thing I want to mention is, basically, as you can see, I've been taking feedback from everyone on social media. So, I mean, if you guys can actually follow us and actually give your opinion on like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or wherever, we're actually going to feed this all back to R&D centres in China. Yep.
Can we give Wilkin a round of applause?